and welcome to Porthole. I'm Steve Milne, and in today's programme we're taking you on a journey of discovery to one of the Mediterranean's most popular ports of call. A destination that is steeped in history plus infamous for its rock and population. Of course, I'm talking about Gibraltar. With its stunning coastline, all year-round sunshine and exceptional panoramic views, it's a British favourite. And so, with so much to see and do, who better to tell us more than a UK representative for Gibraltar, Alberto Poggio. Good. Thanks for coming on with us, and it's great to have you here.
Thank you for pronouncing the name perfectly.
Do you know what? I kind of did practice. I was thinking, let me get that right. It's always very important to get the name right to start with.
Excellent.
So, obviously, Gibraltar is very popular, and especially with cruise liners.
Well, it is indeed. I mean, we are, I suppose, the entrance to the Mediterranean. So when you talk about Mediterranean cruise, Gibraltar has to be included. In ancient times, as you probably know, Gibraltar was known as one of the main pillars of Hercules, which is beyond the pillars of Hercules was the unknown world. So we are on the entrance to Mediterranean. Most Mediterranean cruises will involve a call to Gibraltar.
How many cruises do come to Gibraltar each year?
We had last year 225 calls, which represents roughly 310,000 passengers.
Amazing.
So that's pretty good, and I can tell you that in Mediterranean terms, that's one of the major ports.
Is it a seasonal situation with those ships coming in, or is it throughout the entire year?
No, it tends to be seasonal, and we're working with the cruise lines, and not just Gibraltar, but most of the Mediterranean ports. We're working with the cruise line to try and make it an all year round. And we're making certain progress in that respect. But yes, I suppose in answer to your question, it is at the moment, it's seasonal.
Absolutely. And are there any particular nationalities that come on these ships?
No, there isn't. I mean, I said we're in the entrance to the Mediterranean, and most ships coming across the Atlantic, most cruise ships that come across from the Atlantic, from America, they will call on Gibraltar, so that brings all kinds of different nationalities to Gibraltar.
When the ships dock and they come in, how far to the city centre?
Well, they can actually walk to the city centre. It's about a 15-minute walk. But of course, in reality, most of the passengers want to go on a tour, and then, of course, they're picked up from the cruise terminal.
So I guess there are some options, transport.
There are options, but those that don't want to go on a tour, I mean, you get a lot of repeats. If they just want to go and walk into the town and do some shopping, then they can actually walk to the town, even though there is obviously a taxi service available to them.
Gibraltar obviously is known as the place with a lot of sunshine. It's the UK in the sun. What's the kind of weather seasonal situation there?
It's, we can. I mean, it's not sunshine all year round, but most of the year. Our rainy season tends to be sort of December, January, and it's a little bit unpredictable as to when that season is. I mean, I have been in December actually on the beach and swimming on Christmas Day.
Beautiful.
But equally, I can tell you there's been other years when it's been raining, so it's a little bit unpredictable, but the rainy season tends to be December, January. When
you arrive and you're meted, what languages would you expect?
Well, the language of Gibraltar is English. I mean, however, because of our proximity to our neighbour to the north, Spain, we all speak Spanish, and it's hearsay Spanish, so it's not a studied language. But you hear a mixture of what we call Llanito language, which is a mixture of English and Spanish.
I guess if you're arriving and you speak English, you'll get by. There won't be a problem.
You won't have a problem at all.
If people have been to Gibraltar maybe in the last few years, have things changed recently at all?
Yes, I mean, Gibraltar is changing all the time. I mean, Gibraltar, let me just tell you that 30 years ago, 40 years ago, Gibraltar was very much a military garrison.
Yeah.
It is not that now. It's a very vibrant destination. Its economy is now wide-ranging, from financial services and banking to tourism is a huge market for us. The port and port-related activities. What it means that some of these industries that we have now, these pillars of industry, have brought in a lot of young people to Gibraltar, and it's made Gibraltar very vibrant. So it is changing all the time. There are new buildings. I mean, land 40 years ago, most of it used to belong to the Ministry of Defence or to the Crown. Now they have released all that to the local government, and we have developed our industries. So there are new developments going up all the time. And yes, anybody who was there, say, 40 years ago and went back today would not recognise it.
Might see a change.
Yeah.
You've touched on the military. Is there much of a military presence there at the moment?
Well, we still have a presence, and the three services are still represented: the Navy, the Air Force, and the Army. But of course, we don't have regiments like we used to have. Sort of 40 years ago, the whole scenario of the military have changed, but we do have the representatives of the three services.
In regards to attractions, tell me, what are some of the main events you should do when you arrive?
Well, one of the main events is, of course, I mean, most of the cruise passengers, they want to go on the Rock Tour. The Rock Tour will take them to places like the Upper Rock Nature Reserve. You've got a cable car,
yes,
which takes you to the nature reserve. You've got St Michael's Cave, which is a stunning cave. You've got the Great Siege and World War II tunnels, which is fascinating. I mean, Gibraltar has something like 35 miles of tunnels inside the rock, and most of it now is being used for tourist attractions, so that is a must. And you've got the great Moorish Castle, which it speaks for itself. It's a Moorish castle, and it's a great site to visit. Yeah. And of course, you've got the famous apes, the Barbary apes,
everywhere,
everywhere, and they are really roaming. Even though we have an official site for them, the apes den, as we call it, but they are roaming, and you will meet them in the nature reserve, and they're great. They can be a little bit frightening to people who. They
look quite confident to me. They
are very confident, and what we say to people, of course, is that if you should be in a situation where they jump on your back, then stay still. Don't they'll react to a sudden movement. So if you stay still, they will do whatever they want to do. And
I'm assuming you shouldn't feed them, no? Is that right?
Well, you shouldn't feed them. No, and this is where people make mistakes. They do try to feed them, and they get aggressive then, because there is so many of them.
Of course, they
all want some, and they can get aggressive. And then people get frightened and they move back, and that sudden movement makes them react even more. So the answer is not to feed them, and if they do jump on your back, then just stay still, and they will jump off again
and go bother someone else.
Yes, and grab onto somebody else. As I said, no sudden movements, because that's what they react to.
With things like cable cars, they're always good to see the area. So your cable car that you've got, is that a good way of maybe seeing?
The cable car will give you panoramic scenery, and it'll take you to the very top of the rock. And again, you are literally looking at an amazing sight, because from there, of course, you will see the two continents of Europe and North Africa, or the African continent, which is literally about 14, 15 miles away. So what a great sight. And that's the entrance to the Mediterranean, as I explained to you before. In olden days, it used to be the Pillars of Hercules, and that's so clearly visual of why it was called the Pillars of Hercules, when you're up there on the top of the cable car and you see that great sight.
It's incredible, from underground in the cave to going up to the panoramic views. Sounds fantastic.
And in addition, other attractions. I mean, that there is a Europa Point again, where the Atlantic and the Mediterranean meet. So that's a great site for tourists to visit. It's difficult to imagine how close Europe is to the African continent. Yeah. Until you are somewhere like Europa Point in Gibraltar, and then you realise that just across the bay you've got another continent. Beaches, we have beaches in Gibraltar, but of course they are small beaches and used very much by locals, so it's not a beach destination. We don't really sell ourselves as a beach destination. I can certainly recommend a dolphin trip.
Oh yes.
And cruise ships are usually there long enough to be able to offer this. And all these tours, incidentally, I should mention, are offered within the ship itself.
Absolutely.
So
I mean, with the dolphin tours that you touched on, what do you expect? Do you go out on a boat? Is that right?
There are operators that would guarantee that you will see the
Really?
dolphins.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
and it's quite spectacular. I mean, I've done it many times. And you go out to the bay, to where the Atlantic meets the Mediterranean, and you see these beautiful dolphins just coming next to you and jumping up. It's really fantastic.
I'm very lucky. I grew up in Australia, so we had the same situation with dolphins around us all the time, and I just thought that was normal, but it's not that normal sometimes. So going to places like this and seeing dolphins, it really is incredible because they're quite cheeky dolphins. They like to have fun with you, don't they? So
Absolutely.
they've got like a great personality, and I mean, it's something I think you definitely recommend doing.
There is plenty to do. For the cruise ship normally calls for 6 to 8 hours, and there's plenty to do in Gibraltar. In fact, you would not be able to do everything that's available in the time that they allow.
Which sounds to me like a good thing. You want lots of things to do.
And of course, I need to mention the shopping as well. I mean, people do want to come and, because we are a VAT-free destination.
Well, apparently the shopping is huge, but we're going to have a quick break now, and we'll come back to that one in just a moment. So do stay with us, and we'll be discovering more about what Gibraltar has in just a moment, and I'll see you in a few minutes' time. Welcome back to Porthole, the programme where we delve into the heart of the most popular cruise ports, and today we're getting a taste for Gibraltar. Alberto Poggio is still with me, and we're talking about the fabulous cruise liners that arrive, and we've been talking about all sorts of activities, but I was wondering about the larger cruise ships that come into port. Can you accommodate those?
Yes, we can. I mean, we have the Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Victorias, most of the Carnival, most of the Royal Caribbean cruises all come into Gibraltar, Costa cruises, and of course we're looking forward to welcoming at some point the Harmony of the Sea, which is the largest cruise ship. Carrying something like 6,800 passengers.
Looks incredible. That looks absolutely amazing, isn't it? It's huge.
One of the problems, of course, that not just Gibraltar and the Mediterranean ports are facing is the difficulties of accommodating, these cruise ships are getting bigger and bigger in terms of and numbers of passengers, and if you get 2 or 3 calling at the same time,
of course,
then you get into the issue of the delivery of the product itself. So whilst we welcome and we are capable of dealing with the largest of ships, we certainly wouldn't like to see 2 or 3 in at the same time, because that would affect the delivery of our product.
Absolutely. You want everyone to be able to
enjoy. We want everybody to have a
everything.
good time, and so we do tend to control that.
There's been some great activities up for grabs and on offer. What about shopping as well?
Well, shopping is great. I mean, the high street in Gibraltar. I mean, you mentioned before the Britain and the Sun, so you see some very familiar names. I mean, like Topshop, Marks and Spencers.
Yes.
Dare I say, British Home Stores, and those kind
amazing,
of things.
Isn't it?
And of course, as I said, we are VAT-free shopping because even though we are part of the European Union, we are not included in the custom tariff. So there is no VAT in Gibraltar, so you would expect to have that kind of a discount on what you buy.
What currency can we expect to use?
Sterling. I mean, most shops will accept the euro as well, but sterling is the currency of Gibraltar.
And if I was shopping, what type of typical souvenir would I have to get?
Oh, what do people shop for rather than what souvenirs? I mean, people tend to go for, ladies want to go for perfumery types of shopping, which is very reasonably priced in Gibraltar. All the makes are available in the shops. Radio equipment, cameras, electronic equipment, very much on demand. And of course, booze. I mean, people do. Booze is very cheap.
Well, if you're on holiday, that's maybe
things that tobacconists, cigars, and all those. This is very popular. But I said you've got all the high street names are there. So there's an array of shopping,
familiar stores,
to shop in.
Coming in from the UK, you can feel a little bit at home.
That's right.
In the sun, with monkeys.
And souvenirs. I mean, we've got a glass factory, which is part of a tour, certain tours, and people tend to buy, especially designed piece of glassware for themselves, which is done whilst they watch.
Yeah,
you know, so
incredible.
this is a very popular attraction to Gibraltar. Yeah.
What about nightlife? If you're able to stay the evening or stay the night, what's the nightlife like?
Well, you know, most of the nightlife tends to be concentrated in a place called Ocean Village and Casement Square. Hey, it's a young people's nightlife, and it's a kind of nightlife that you would expect from a buzzing and destination like Gibraltar. Lots of bars, lots of, you know, the sort of dancing places to go to, lots of restaurants. Different cuisine, all types of cuisines are available. So this casino.
I was going to ask about casinos.
Yeah.
It always seems to me like when you're on holiday, I feel like I want to go to a casino at some point. It's just something to do on holiday, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
there is a casino there,
Yes.
a very popular casino. And that's basically, you know, so it's very much an outdoor life, an outdoor entertainment, because we are in the Mediterranean. And lots of drinking, lots of good food.
I mean, talking about food, what kind of food can you expect?
Well, it's you know, it's a mixture. It's more European. I mean, there isn't any specific cuisine that I would like to mention, because we have a whole array from Italian to Indian to Chinese to Spanish cooking is obviously very prominent in some of the restaurants because of their proximity to Spain. The Italian, as I mentioned, is because our ancestors are from Italy. So there's a whole mixture of cuisine.
Which is always good to cover everyone's taste and kind of feel. And I'm assuming budget as well. I mean, how is it expensive to eat out, or?
Well, it's not expensive. It's you know, we are doing this program here in the UK, and I can tell you it's nowhere near what the UK prices are. So it's not expensive, and there are restaurants to suit all budgets. I mean, you know, you can obviously go to
You've got to indulge, I'm sure you can indulge.
To a five-star restaurant, and then of course you're expected to pay that little bit more. But you know, I like to think that we cater for all budgets.
Now, Gibraltar's known for celebrity guests. There's been quite a few apparently that have been rumoured to be there. Can you tell us anything more about what celebrities have been?
Well, one of the areas of tourism that we promote, of course, is the marriage in Gibraltar. And one of the most famous weddings was, of course, John Lennon and Yoko Ono that got married in Gibraltar. But we've had many celebrities in Gibraltar, from Her Majesty the Queen to Prince Charles and Diana, of course, started their honeymoon from Gibraltar. So they flew to Gibraltar, boarded the Royal Yacht Britannia in Gibraltar when they started their honeymoon. Elton John has been there many times. We have a very famous songwriter called Albert Hammond that not many people might remember the name, but they will certainly remember his songs. He has written songs for most of the, leading sort of artists of today. We have John Galliano, who's a designer, well known, and he's from Gibraltar. And we have to mention, of course, that Gibraltar was the place where Miss World lived in 2005. Sorry, in 2009.
Right.
Cayenne Anderino took us all by surprise, and she went and won the Miss World contest.
Fantastic.
And what a great, what pride for Gibraltarians.
It really is, the rich, the famous and the glamorous. It's everything, isn't it?
You know, for a small place like Gibraltar to produce a Miss World, and my God, was she worthy of it.
There you go, that's very good. I mean, you touched on music and songwriting. Is there any kind of festivals that happen throughout the year?
We have one of the most popular events. We have many events. Most of our tourism is events-driven nowadays. We have the Gibraltar Music Festival, which is a huge event, and we have, you know, top acts coming to Gibraltar, and it's usually a weekend festival. And we have you know, our National Day, which is in September, and that's again a festival. We have the Literary Festival, the Gibraltar Literary Festival, which again is late November, and that is growing in stature, and we have many celebrities coming down to Gibraltar for that festival. So yes, there are plenty.
It sounds like there's quite a lot of different festivals, which was great as well.
Indeed.
For those that are coming from the UK, I'm assuming it's quite easy to get to from the UK.
Yes, I mean
in regards to flying in.
Oh yes, I mean you can fly in from either sort of Manchester, Luton, Gatwick, or Heathrow, or even Bristol now. EasyJet, British Airways, Monarch, they all fly there. It's 2.5 hours maximum. Sure. So it's not all that far too.
We're talking about the cruise liners that come in, obviously, but if someone wanted just to come out for a few days on holiday, what's the type of accommodation that they can expect?
Well, most of the hotels are 4-star graded. There are 5-star as well. We got one 5-star, which is a Sunborn, which is a yacht hotel. Yes. But most of the accommodation is 4-star. There is also 3-star accommodation. And there are youth hostels, but mainly hotels is what we offer as accommodation.
So I guess there's something for most people's budget, which is good.
Yes, I would have thought so, yeah.
And we touched on this at the start, but is there a particular time of year that's the best time to arrive to enjoy?
Well, it's a matter of choice. I mean, it depends what you really want to do with it. I mean, most people want the sun and they want the beaches and all that kind of thing, though, even though we don't promote ourselves as a beach resort. But I find that the most pleasant month to visit is probably May and June because, we haven't got to the heat of the middle of the summer. The
scorching sun,
So the scorching sun is a very pleasant temperature, usually around about 28 degrees at that time of the year. So that's a perfect temperature. The summers can get a little bit too hot. I mean, I've known it to get us beyond 40 degrees, so that makes it a little bit uncomfortable.
You'd want to be in the sea.
But again, I say it's a matter of choice. But for my thinking, May, June is a good month to visit.
I guess if someone was coming in and they only had a few hours, what would be the high recommendation to do whilst you're there?
Well, I think that if you've only got a couple of hours and you've got to go on a tour, the taxi associations or the taxis offers very, very good tours. And get one of those to give you a tour for a couple of hours.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you very much for that, and thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again next time as we look through the porthole. It's bye for now.